Hey Houseplant friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we have a video that I fast-tracked because of current events. So you might have seen something that scared you a little bit yesterday, which was this variegated gloriosum taking up to $350,000 on an eBay auction. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about auction culture and how the plant community is kind of experiencing new things in the public eye for the first time that we're used to seeing in other arenas, like trading cards and shoes, other things that can't die after you spend money on them. But in the plant community, when we spend our money on these different things, they can die. If you don't know what you're doing, you might end up spending, if this auction was real, $350K on a variegated gloriosum, only for it to die. And you might be confused, Ashley, what the heck is this whole thing that's going on? Well, I'm not really gonna get too into it because the whole thing kind of became a big drama monster and we don't love that. And if you're sending hate to anyone involved, knock it off because that's super not cool. However, what we are gonna do is analyze what happened here, what is going on, and also compare and contrast to different other online communities, such as the Pokemon trading card game. But before we get into everything, please make sure you hit like and subscribe. Maybe you've been binge watching my videos and you just forgot to hit that subscribe button. Welcome to the community. Also, I do have YouTube channel memberships, which you can join if you want to support me further on this channel. They're only $5 a month, cheaper than your coffee, and you join an online community full of over 215 to 20, I don't know, changes. What am I trying to say? I filmed too many videos today, okay? Full of over 220 online members from all over the world. It's a great time. Come hang out with us. Let's get into the situation. Auctions are not new in the plant community. They're something that we have seen, at least since I first joined the community, just over 3 years ago. They're not something that's new. However, the prices are kind of changing, or at least people are finally starting to notice what the heck is going on with these prices. Plant auctions and collections have gone back since literally the dawn of time. If you're curious exactly how long, I made a video called The Entire History of Houseplant Collecting, I guess, in which we literally learned that King Nebuchadnezzar, yes, the King Nebuchadnezzar from the Bible, collected plants to please his wife. So nothing's changed. Plant collecting has gone back for a really long time. Also in that video, I talk about orchid collecting and the orchid craze that has left a lot of lady sliver orchids to this day that are on the edge of extinction. The colonialism and going to different countries, they would literally bleed them dry of their orchids. If you're interested in that stuff, check out that video. It's a good video. I spent a lot of time on it. Major plant collecting and there being big money in houseplants is not something that's new. It has been around since forever. As far back as the 1800s with the orchid hunters, who one orchid hunter was literally brutally murdered by another one so he could take his bounty and sell it himself to the royal family. So this is stuff that's not new. However, the houseplant spike right now is what's. The last time houseplants were booming like this, if you can even call it like this, was in the 90s. The reason right now this houseplant boom is so big and popular, especially with Gen Z and millennials, is because of the internet. And what I was trying to get at here is that the plant community didn't start when the internet existed, pretty much kind of like trading card and how trading cards blew up after the internet because everyone could see all these eBay listings and stuff. Plant community has been around for centuries before the internet ever existed. Us being able to see these kinds of plants actually go for sale is just not what we're used to. The internet isn't ingrained into houseplant culture like it is ingrained to the more recent part of trading card collecting. Baseball cards is a bit different because that's been around since the late 1800s. Modern card collecting started with Magic the Gathering in the early 1900s, shortly before we got the internet in a wide stream arena. So in the card community, there is a lot of hype and excitement over, oh, this person found this card and it was this expensive. In the plant community, there's not that same excitement. It's more so met with horror that plants cost that much. And that's what I'm trying to contrast here, these two different types of communities, simply because one has been around for so much longer than the other. We're just not used to it. The internet, obviously, you're on it, is a place where you can connect with people all over the world. What happens when people on one side of the world obsess over something as the same people on the other side of the world? The community just gets a whole lot bigger and better, in my opinion. However, what can happen is we see the popularity popularity drive demand up for specific plants and types of plants. Maybe plants we haven't seen before. One plant that's on the market right now that has really been draining people's pockets is the variegated micans. This is a brand new plant, right, that we haven't quite seen before on the market right now. This plant could have been around for like forever, but only existed in private collection. It's only because the internet that less intense plant collectors get to see what the bigger plant collectors have. Really big collectors like Enid from NSE Tropicals. The really big problem with these more rare, quote unquote, rare plants that we're seeing in the plant community is that the price just does keep getting higher and higher and higher. 2 years ago, I bought my first albo for I think 150 bucks. Now you're gonna be hard pressed to find a good, decent one that's a plant and not just a cut up node for less than $300. But that's not even the biggest part. I'm sure if you do a quick Etsy or eBay search for houseplants, or maybe you're in some of those larger purge groups where there's also auctions happening at the same time, you've seen some of those pretty exorbitant houseplant prices that are just probably more than the down payment for a house. That is something that does happen in our community. However, it's something that within the plant community, which again the plant community goes back hundreds of years, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Now let's contrast the plant community, which has been around forever, with the trading card community. While the trading card community has been around since trading cards were invented sometime in the late 1800s and early 1900s, what we have really seen is the internet is kind of what brought a lot of those people together. Whatever that ranking system is called that they do for Pokemon cards, what I have been able to find out is that that community is a lot newer than this plant community. And a lot of people who are in the plant community and collect plants really only collect more widely available plants, more accessible plants, like ones you might find at the grocery store or you might find at your local garden center. Ones you can very easily and safely order off the internet without worrying that you're getting scammed and that you can easily afford even with shipping. Me personally, I've been getting most of my own plants lately at the grocery store because that's an amazing new thing that has happened. Target has started selling plants. Hello. Trading cards have pretty much blown up since the Pauls made them really, really popular, basically. It's hit a huge resurgence and the culture in that part of trading card collecting is, oh my gosh, my card is worth this much. There are literal unboxing streams that I'm sure you have watched as well as me, where people are opening their cards and suddenly they find a card that is worth, oh my gosh, so much money. The monetary value that is assigned to those trading cards is what is put there by people who are willing to pay those cards. There are people who spend, I think, hundreds and thousands of dollars on these trading card packs, but because it's more of like an investment that could easily change, and now this trading card pack, which was worth a lot, is suddenly only worth a couple $100 or maybe even $20. There are certain cards right now for Pokemon that we don't know how much they're worth because we haven't seen a sale for them, public sale at least. PSA 10, I think it's PSA 10, right? That's how they do it. There's a couple different ones. There are a couple cards that are PSA 10 that we haven't seen sell since a year ago or 2 years ago, so no one really knows what it would go for. And that is exactly what has started happening in the plant community. Fortunately or unfortunately, however you feel about it, this eBay auction that happened yesterday that was canceled was not the result of real actual bidders. It was trolls who pushed the number higher and higher and higher into the point where the auction was basically not allowed. You can't do that. This auction was considered invalid twice now. So they're going to be selling it in private, so there's your update around that. But why is this reaction happening? Do we see this happen in other communities? Yes, there are trolls in every community and in every place. Auction culture, I really think, is what is causing this for the most part. When you're looking at plants online or even Pokemon cards online and you see a card that you would really like to have but the price is just impossible, you're not gonna buy it. However, if you get in on the ground floor of an auction, battling it out from someone from literally the first starting dollar up to $200 or $300, you're more likely to keep betting because now you're invested. Now you're emotionally invested in, I want this card, I've decided I want this card. All that you need to secure the card is having a deep enough pocket. And because two people or three people or even 10 or 20 or 30 people will get so invested, spending money releases dopamine in your brain. We're backtracking for a second. When you're spending money, if you're someone like me who likes to spend money and if you have a bad day, you go buy a plant, which is spending money, you might think it's the plant making you feel better, but it's actually purchasing something. Surprise. In case you didn't know, now you do. When you're pressing that button and saying bid higher, bid higher, bid higher. What you're doing is you're experiencing an adrenaline rush because now you're like, okay, well, if I get it, then this is how much I'm paying. And you might get up into the thousands. And so auction culture can be dangerous because there are people who will bet up and bet up and bet up, and then they'll realize they won. And then once they win, they're like, actually, I don't want this. That's not what happened in this weird situation with this variegated gloriosum. What happened here was people who intentionally wanted to prevent the sale of this plant, and so they bid it up to an exorbitant amount. That was shocking. Houseplant culture shock to see that kind of number next to that plant. For a couple hours, no one knew if that was the real number or not. According to Enid, the day before that, it actually hit 10 million. I don't know why that didn't circulate around anywhere. I guess no one was really watching the auction. However, this did for some reason. And this is happening, I think, because there are people who want to prevent the sale of really expensive plants like this. Auctions that only exist for the top 1% to be able to bid and buy on these things typically tend to be private, especially within the plant community. You're either doing a private sale or a private trade, or you know a guy who wants something and so they reached out to you. In my opinion, it's best to do things like that because it's safer for you, safer for whoever is buying it. If you're making that stuff public and people are seeing how much your plant is worth, you should be careful. Probably don't want anyone to know that information. In my opinion, I feel like that could be a little bit scary. There have literally been greenhouses robbed at gunpoint. How horrifying. However, this whole situation was absolutely wild to watch as a bystander because it's like, how could this be real? And it wasn't. Even though this specific auction wasn't true, we might see auctions like that in the future. Whether or not you're okay with people spending that much money on something, or if you're someone who's like, I would never spend that much on that, I would buy a house, I would do this, I would do that. I don't think any of that matters. I think that no matter what, this is the direction the community is going in. And even though this auction, this public auction, wasn't real, other public auctions like this might be real in the not too distant future. The reason I'm saying I don't really care is because I know that I personally would never spend that much money on a plant. So to me, I don't really price shame or care, even at these super exorbitant amounts people can spend on plants sometimes, because it's just not my business. It's not my life. There are actual ways you can get some of these plants that are worth quote unquote a lot more money or are quote unquote rare trading. Almost all of my rare plants that I own are through trades, and I didn't spend any money. You just have to find the right people in the community who you can do stuff like that with. Plants are only getting more expensive, which sucks because when plants are not as accessible, it can lead people who really, really want them to do things that they probably shouldn't to get plants. The fact of the matter is that the houseplant community is not new to the world, but it is new to this type of thing. Most of the old guard plant collectors aren't even influencers. They have like a couple thousand followers on Instagram, but they're mostly active in other places off of the face of the internet. There are people, of course, like Enid, who has grown to be very, very popular. For me personally, I don't care how much you spend on a plant. I don't care if you spent $300,000 on a plant. I think it's weird if it's in the public because then everyone's seeing that that's how much you're spending, and if you're okay with that, then that's okay. It's weird for me to see because it's like, whew, that's an expensive plant. But I don't think it's right personally for people to be giving these two people as much crap as they are for an auction that wasn't even their fault. The bid was never supposed to go that high, and none of this would be a big deal if those people who were making fake accounts and bidding against each other to try to get the number as high as possible, if none of that had ever happened, none of this would be news, and it would have been another normal auction just like any other, and it wouldn't have been news. It doesn't even matter. I think we're used to seeing certain plants, for example, Sancties, sell for quite high numbers. It's not these two people's fault that this happened to them. They posted an auction to try to give other people an opportunity to buy a piece of this very cool variegated gloriosum. In my opinion, it is not their fault that this happened to them. They are the victims of this situation. They posted an auction to auction a plant. Enid posts auction almost every single week. This was routine. However, I think that people don't want to see plants selling for this much money, and so, of course, this is speculation. They sabotaged the auction, and now the plant has to go sell privately, if they even are going to sell it at all now. All of this is to say is that there are people in every community who do spend an exorbitant amount of money on plants because they can, because they want to, and that exists everywhere. I think we're just not used to seeing it in the plant community, and I honestly think that's why this happened. Auction culture is intense. You're writing a line to see if you can win something, and if you do, the dopamine levels that you receive in your noggin for winning in auction are astronomical, because the entire time you're riding a high of adrenaline, and then you either get it or you don't. And all of that depends on how much dough do you have. And I think that that is why so many people can get trapped into this auction culture, which is becoming a lot more prominent. I know that there are a lot of people actually on Instagram who every Friday or Wednesday, they get together and they do auctions from their nursery of extra plants that they either have laying around or plants that they set aside to auction later in the week. Because when you auction plants, they do typically sell for more than if you were to just list them yourself on your Etsy or your website. The thrill people get from those auctions, I think, are why people buy those plants in the first place. You get the release of dopamine from spending your money, not from getting the plant. You got it from getting the plant, then once you got your plant that you liked, you'd be done. That would be it. There'd be no more buying plants, there'd be no more collecting. People like to put a monetary value on their collection, or how much something is, or how much something is worth. But the big problem with auction culture is that just because something sells for this crazy number once, does not mean it's going to sell for that crazy number again. Auction culture can also lead, in my opinion, to an inflation in the plant market, because if we see, oh, this albo went for blah, blah, blah one day, now I can sell mine for that much. And then everyone else has that same idea, because people want to make money off of plants. There's a lot of people who are only in the community to do that. Then that's what they'll do. And then because everyone wants to sell and sell and sell, and because people are willing to buy, whereas in the Pokemon trading card community, they've kind of been, that's kind of how you get trading cards, you buy them in auctions. So anyways, while it can be exciting to sit on the sidelines and kind of watch this kind of thing happen, in case you thought that auction was real, it wasn't. The number was never even projected to get that high. It was just a really unfortunate thing that happened. However, I do think that it's kind of a wake-up call for a lot of people in the community. I do believe that in private, there are auctions that get up to this and much higher, especially for some specific plants. So I wouldn't be surprised. However, these auctions being public, maybe it's time in the plant community for us to start moving away from public auctions that exceed a certain amount, because of all the negative attention that they do bring. They are not relatable, and people on the internet who watch videos want their creators and content providers to be relatable. Selling a plant for $300,000 or more just isn't relatable, and therefore people don't like it and most likely won't accept it. That's my critical analysis of houseplant auctions, yesterday's event, and also a comparison to the Pokemon trading card community. If you want to see more content like this in the future, I do plan on doing more commentary type content. I hope that you enjoyed this video, or at least thought that it was interesting. I know that watching this all go down yesterday was absolutely wild. Please remember to keep your words kind in general towards others. The situation created a lot of negativity, so just remember that these people are people too. Anyways, that's my critical analysis on this topic. Let me know what you want to see me cover in the future, and thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and tweet me at PlanTEA. Follow me on Instagram and TikTok at PlanTEA. I'm going to be doing daily TikToks. Follow me there, or else. Also, don't forget to join my YouTube channel memberships. They're only $5 a month, and I think that they're really fun coming out with us. I personally really enjoy it. Other than that, I'll see you in the end of the video fun stuff and the next plant section. Goodbye.
Hello and welcome to the end of the video fun stuff. I would like to thank Nicole Stanford and Miss Sharney for joining the YouTube channel memberships, Emily Jean Plants, Demonic Sippy, and Rachel for upgrading their channel membership. I would like to thank these members for their extra channel support: Liliana Ramos, Kim Klanowski, Ashley's Planties, Cole M, Houseplant Heather, Carissa Lawrence, All the Green Places, and Botanicas. And today's extra comment shout out goes to Darlene Bass, who just says B, just the letter B, who has also been publicly subscribed to me for 9 months. Thank you so much, Darlene, for your comment, and thank you guys so much for watching my video. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.